Hello and good morning from Banff. Heather and I are staying here at the Moose Inn and Suites, or Moose Lodge. It's called something like that. It's really nice. And it has a parking garage under the hotel, and that's where I am now. It's 3:38 in the morning, and we are going to go to Lake Louise and see if we can get a parking spot. You know, reports are that the parking lot fills up early, and then you have to park someplace else and take a shuttle. So we're going to try to get there super early this morning, get a parking spot, and see the sunrise at Lake Louise. We have made it, and we have got a parking place. There's probably 30 other cars here, and it is, what time you got, Hen? 4:35. It took us about 42 or 45 minutes to get here. And man, it's tricky to figure out when you've never been here before, and it's totally dark. And the signs are kind of confusing, but we are here, and now we just got to wait till sunrise. I just figured out parking, which actually works pretty easy. You park by plate. It's $36.75 Canadian, which came out to $27.10 United States dollars charged to my card. I was able to tap to pay, so it's pretty modern. I walked down to the lake, and I had to light the trail by my flashlight on my cell phone, and very dark down there. It's amazing how well you can see the stars. I wish I'd brought a fast lens to do some astro. But anyway, by the time I got back up to the parking lot, somebody had cranked up a generator and fired up this ultra bright light. There's a tour bus full of people right there. When we first got here, there was one row of parking filled, and now the second row is almost filled. This thing's just about to be full, and it's not even 5 a.m. yet. It's 6:38 a.m. now, blue hour, and Heather and I have come down to the lake. I've got the 14-24 on, and I'm shooting 30-second shots at f8. The water's pretty smooth, not much breeze.
I'm so happy that I have a friend. Still the visa.
Pretty popular spot, huh?
And the blue is hot, no more become sounds.
Yeah.
The pick so they get I was doing the exit and that funny did well no not the one so you heard so I doing even visa that I need to let things take.
Okay, so this shot was about 30 minutes before sunrise, and it's probably my favorite shot of the day. I love that there was no wind or virtually no wind. So look at that reflection on the water. And this is 30 seconds at f8. No filters, 14 millimeters ISO 100. And on this one, I turned my camera slightly to the left so I could get this little cabin where all the canoes are stored there on Lake Louise. I like the way there's warm tones coming from the lights here at this little cabin and everything else, because this is blue hour. It's not sunrise yet. And everything else that kind of has a little bit of a blueness to it. I warmed it up a little bit so it's not as blue as it was originally straight out of the camera. And the glacier there on the mountain in the background is super bright, even though it's not sunrise yet. It's because it's white and it's an extra long exposure, and the sun was beginning to come up behind me. It hasn't risen yet, but it was coming. Really love the way this turned out. I like the cool tones mixed with the warm tones. And I wish I had made more shots with the little barn and the canoes. But this is my favorite shot of the morning. Let's see what else I got. This one is 23 millimeters, where the previous shot was 14 millimeters. On this one, I was concentrating mostly on the background glacier, where this original picture, it's kind of small in the frame. The next shot is kind of just of this area right here. So there it is. And I like the way this one turned out as well. This is 30 seconds, f9. I had stopped down to f9 by then in 23 millimeters ISO 100. Now this shot, we're starting to get some of what Thomas Heaton calls Alpen glow there in the background, where the sun is just starting to hit the tall mountains. I couldn't decide between two versions. This is 14 millimeters, 20 seconds. And on this one, just a portion of the paddle barn was in the shot on the left, so I removed it with AI. I should have turned my camera to the left and gotten the entire paddle barn like I did in that first shot I showed you, but that's not how I did it on this one. And so there it is, the Alpenglow, and this is one version, and then I warmed it up a little bit for this version. And I can't decide whether or not I like the warmed up version or the straight out of the camera in terms of white balance version the best. 5 minutes ago, before I made this video clip, I was thinking I liked this not warmed up version better. And now as I'm making the video clip, I think maybe I like this warmed up version better. So maybe you can tell me which one you like the best. It is cold. It's cold. It's -1 Celsius, so I guess that's like 30 degrees or so Fahrenheit. And we were down there from 6:30 until almost 8 o'clock, and just got really, really cold. We should have brought gloves with us. I don't know what we were thinking, but got some shots, and also saw a magpie and got a couple of pictures of it. Had to switch to my 100 to 500 and take some magpie pictures, and then we decided to come back up to the car and warm up. So this is a magpie that was there at Lake Louise, and we had been seeing magpie as we drove in, and they're a lifer for me and Heather. And this one was hanging around. Somebody had thrown an apple down, and this magpie was kind of trying to eat this apple. This is a 500 millimeter shot with the 100 to 500 lens, 1/200, not much light, wide open at 7.1. And here's another magpie shot. I got much closer to this one. This is 223 millimeters, 1/200, wide open at 5.6, and ISO 5000. Beautiful bird, the magpie that you can see there in Canada. You can see these in parts of the United States, just not parts that I normally go to. This one I captured the blue of its eye, which I like, and it's got some greens and blues, and maybe even in some shots some purple, as well as the black and really bright white. It's a tough exposure, the magpie, because if you expose and get the eye looking nice, it's really close to blowing out the white breast. So we left Lake Louise and we drove to Johnston Canyon, and on the way I stopped on the side of the road and made a photograph of this mountain. I didn't make a video clip about it because I didn't think I would like the photo. It's got these light poles from the side of the highway, and so I didn't make a video clip about it. But once I got to the hotel and started looking at the photos, I actually kind of liked the shot, so I decided to share it with you. This is handheld with the 14 to 35 at 23 millimeters, f8, 1/200, ISO 100. Heather and I are hiking on a walking path to Johnston Falls, lower Johnston Falls here at Johnston Canyon. It's just beautiful here. This trail is pretty amazing. They just got this thing hanging off the side of the canyon, and then every once in a while it comes back and you're walking on the ground, but a lot of the time you're on man-made structure hanging off the side of the canyon. I stopped and made a few handheld shots from right here at 1/15 of a second. Hopefully some of them are sharp. So now we're hiking in Johnston Canyon. You can see the trail suspended off the side of the canyon over here on the left. And I made some photographs. These are handheld shots. 1/15 of a second, 31 millimeters with the 14 to 35, f8, and ISO 200 of the creek there at Johnston Canyon. And this is another handheld shot of the creek at Johnston Canyon. This one's 35 millimeters, 1/6 of a second, handheld, f9, ISO 200. Well, we made it to the falls, and there are a lot of people here. Tried to make some handheld shots. We'll see how they come out. And this is Lower Johnston Falls, I believe is what it's called. This is also handheld, 1/8 of a second, 35 millimeters, ISO 200. In this shot, you can actually see the scale of this waterfall. In the previous picture, it looks kind of small, but in this shot, you can see the scale because you can see a human being over here on the right. So it's actually quite a bit bigger than it looks in the previous shot. This is handheld, 1/15 of a second, f5.6, ISO 200, and 32 millimeters. I'm just kind of leaning and bracing myself on the rail to try to get this shot. And I used electronic shutter and blasted off several pictures in a row and then I picked the sharpest one to share with you. This is another shot using that same technique. 32 millimeters, 1/15 of a second, f5.6 and ISO 160. Look how blue the water is there in the plunge pool below the waterfall.
Well, Heather has Charcot-Marie Tooth, so it's very hard for her to go on hikes, and this hike was right at her limit. So if you're struggle with hikes but look for easy ones, you might be able to do this one.
Yeah.
Did you make it?
I made it. Yeah, I would say I wouldn't want to do anything more difficult than this, but it was worth it.
Cool. We stopped at a pull-off where you can see all these mountains in the background, and they have signs with how high they are above sea level. But of course, what did I do? I took pictures of magpies.
Here's another magpie, and this one, it's on one of the signs there at the pull-off, and you can really see all the colors in its beautiful feathers. They have such long tail feathers, and there's some greens and blues and yellows and purples, and same here in these flight feathers. Really beautiful bird, the magpie, and I was happy to see them and get to photograph them there while we were in Canada. This shot's 472 millimeters, 1/1000th, wide open at 7.1 and ISO 640. At that pull-off, there's lots of mountains to see, but you can't really get a full shot of the mountains, so I decided to make a detailed shot of this one. This is 167 millimeters, 1/500th and f5.6, ISO 100 with the 100 to 500. And this mountain, you could get a full shot of it, but it also has the highway in the shot. This is looking back from the direction we had come from. This is 118 millimeters with the 100 to 500, 1/1000th of a second, f5.6 and ISO 100 of this mountain there in Banff.
Y'all, my husband is obsessed with these magpies. It is hilarious. Oh, look, this one wants to be his friend.
And this is the shot that I made while Heather was making that video clip I just showed you of the magpie that was as curious about me as I was about it. This is only 135 millimeters, filling the frame with the magpie and its crazy long tail, 1/1000th, f5.6 and ISO 250 with the 100 to 500. There was also some crows, or maybe this is a raven, I'm not sure which, there at the pull-off where we had stopped. And this thing was very inquisitive. It got really close to me and I got really close to it. Normally crows where I'm around, they won't let you get close to them at all. But this is 254 millimeters, 1/1000th, f5.6 and ISO 160. And that's the last photograph that I got on day 2 of our trip to Banff and Canada. I hope you are enjoying it. If so, reach down, hit the thumbs up button. That helps me out a lot. And as always, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and I sure hope to see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.